Welcome to the first annual and only Dead Game Awards. Today, your host, Jeff Keighley. Welcome. Here at the Dead Game Awards, we love to show off games that are no longer with us. Games that don't hold 100k plus viewers constantly on Twitch. Games that don't pull in millions of views. Basically meaning just Minecraft and Among Us. Here, we strive to show what could have been and what probably never will be. But if a game is dead, is there even a point in talking about it? Do you have a family? I used to. Look at the different types of media. Movies, music. They all have their own official award show that is insanely coveted. Now look at video games. What do we got? The Game Awards? I feel like with any type of media, people feel like it's some sort of competition to win the most prestigious award, even though that's subjective to each person. So in reality, the award, instead of meaning Game of the Year, actually means it's the judge's favorite. It's human nature to care about this sort of thing, but the thing I've always cared about was not what some large award show voted for as their favorite Game of the Year, but what an individual thought was their favorite. It's so much more exciting to hear an individual's opinion on a game, where it's so much more personal rather than Jeff Keighley saying The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, would you rather watch a GameSpot review or a Donkey review? Obviously GameSpot, because they share the deepest opinions about each game they review. So that's why I've decided to nominate a couple games I've played in the last year, and then say what was my favorite. This could be any game I've played in 2020, so sorry Fortnite fans, maybe next year. Here at the Dead Game Awards, we try and revive what was once alive and bring it back from the dead. What's your success rate? Minecraft? Hold it! This was definitely a trip. The Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy is by far the most different game on this list. I played the first game on the DS, really liked it, got to the third case, got carsick, and stopped. But almost 2 years later, I tried once again, and here it is. The game has two main phases it takes place in. The investigation phase, where you look for clues and find out the backgrounds of the characters. Then there's the courtroom phase, where the game really shines. You have to listen to testimonies and then cross-examine them to expose the contradictions. It can get super intense battling against the prosecutor with objections flying back and forth. The actual cases themselves are really well done, requiring you to think really hard. Sometimes you'll get stumped, but you'll feel so good once you peg down the truth. The characters are all wonderful, each with their own theme accompanying them, not to mention that the soundtrack is insanely catchy. The story running in the background of each game is also very interesting just to get sucked into, wanting to know what happens next. Though the investigations can get sort of dull at times if you're stuck, these are very few and far between. Also, not every case is a winner, namely 2 of them just sort of drag out longer than they should. But with there being 3 different games with 14 different cases to tackle, a large variety of characters, locales, and testimonies to crack, Phoenix Wright is insanely satisfying. You're not about to say the game Among Us killed, right? What gave you the idea? Oh, I just started to sense toxicity all of a sudden. Then their Twitter account still has to be scarred from the last time I checked. Like what? Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout has received a lot of flack from everyone for a while now. A lot of people seem to share the opinion that the game just got boring after a while. Me personally, I still have a good amount of fun with it. I think it's because after the initial launch, they didn't update it much really until 2 months later, which for a game that repeats the same minigames over and over, can get pretty stale. Now if you come back to the game, they've done so much to improve it. Not only have they added 11 new games, but added tons of variants to a lot of the games. Remember how boring Perfect Match was? Now it's too hard to even qualify, They've also added tons of new skins, emotes, there's a new rank system for every crown you get. The game is so addicting and was my go-to time waster for 2020. I'm really excited for what else they add in the future, and they hopefully bring it to all consoles soon so it can have a chance to reclaim its crown. Why do I smell smoke? Why did it even come here? I've always been a big fan of Paper Mario, but 2020, though we got a new game, I wish I wasn't even a part of it. Though I think The 1,000 Year Door is a better game than the Origami King in a ton of different ways, I'm putting Origami King here just because it's becoming so redundant hearing that The 1,000 Year Door is the best one just because it is. But Origami King honestly made me smile more than The 1,000 Year Door. Might just be because I simply am just tired of hearing people bicker about it, and therefore hampered my experience playing it. But for Origami King, I felt there was a lot more positivity going around about it, and it just made me plain happy. The game was just fun to walk around and explore, find hidden toads, read the crafty dialogue, see all the wacky things the game would throw at you. The different locales were so fun to see, the characters were very charming, the soundtrack was just a bop. And yes, the game has plenty of flaws, the combat can get repetitive, the badge system is essentially useless, the beginning area can be slightly dull, but overall the game was just fun, and that was all I really needed, I guess. It's the beginning of quarantine, I'm bored and decide to pull out my 3DS bag. I see Kidakers Uprising, a game I had played the multiplayer of, but not the actual single player. A couple days later, I started my second playthrough. This game is just pure adrenaline. This game has two different playstyles it plays off of. There's the flight section, which is essentially an on-rail shooter, and then the land sections. The land sections are so much fun to dodge and weave enemies. I was mainly a bow user, so I'd like to snipe my enemies from afar, and when they were either stunned or weak, I would strike. But there are so many other weapon types to choose from. The highlight of this game by far is the writing, and the gameplay working together simultaneously. Most games try and separate dialogue and gameplay, but Kidakers is so good at sucking you into the world that it feels so fluid. Also, the dialogue is hilarious, especially Hades. They had a field day with his character. This game is just so fun to replay as well, due to its chapter structure. Outside the great single players to multiplayer, and man was this addicting. There are two modes, free for all or light versus dark. Light versus dark is my favorite because one person on each side either becomes pit or dark pit, and the goal is to kill that person to win. Please, a sequel, please. Shovel Knight Treasure Trove started off as something very simple. It was just the one campaign of Shovel Knight on his quest to find his lost friend Shield Knight. The game was fun, no doubt. It had great level design, tons of power-ups to unlock, plenty of secrets, great characters and dialogue. The soundtrack was once again a bop. Pretty much it was just a really good indie game, and that was it. But then, they kept adding more. They kept adding more and more content to the game. 2 to 3 new campaigns depending on who you're even asking, a whole battle mode, extra challenges, achievements, co-op multiplayer, amiibo. Playing through the whole thing for basically the first time at the start of the year was such a blast. After Shovel Knight, I tried the Plague Knight campaign, which was alright, but nothing too great. Mainly they just didn't adjust the levels to fit the character's movement. Then I played Spectre Knight's campaign and I was in awe. It takes a much more serious tone and is so cool. Spectre Knight's movement is so satisfying to toy around with. Then they completely flipped the script with their last campaign for King Knight, and it's essentially a complete joke. King Knight lives in his mother's house, and the game revolves around a card game. It's just super funny. Also, the card game is completely optional, so you don't even have to do it if you don't want. It's also the most polished campaign by far, so great job there. It's just a good time overall. The levels are much shorter than in any of the other campaigns, making it much better for short bursts. There is so much more to mention about Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, but I really just want to leave it up to you to see it all. So now, let's repeat the nominees. We have Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, Paper Mario the Origami King, Kidakers Uprising, and Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. Before I say my winner though, some games I wanted to give a shout out quickly were Celeste, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. These games just missed the cut for the nomination, but I still wanted to recognize them, so here they are. There were so many other good games that I played this year, better than most years. From simple platformers to puzzle games to clubhouse games, baby. There was a lot of quality that I got to enjoy. If I'm gonna be honest, the Game of the Year award is gonna be between Phoenix Wright, Kidakers, and Shovel Knight. So, my Game of the Year goes to Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. If you had asked a couple months ago, it would have been Uprising. But I feel the sheer amount of effort that went into Treasure Trove over the last 6 years put it over the top. And Phoenix? I liked it a lot, just that second game in the trilogy had some questionable moments to put it lightly. So thank you all for listening, and thank you to our sponsor Red Bull, what gives you wings. Now we have Green Day to tell us the dead game of the year. Yes, the dead game of the year goes to Minecraft Dungeons. Ah!